The throne room of Vera Prime shimmered under the dying light of a sun that refused to set for the conquered world. Golden beams sliced through the high arches of black marble veined with veins of raw crystal, turning the dust motes into living gold. King Vera sat rigid on his obsidian throne, the carved face of his ancestor staring down with eternal judgment. His crown, twisted silver and iron, forged from the bones of 10,000 fallen soldiers, felt heavier than ever, pressing against his temples like a blade. Beside him, Princess Alara huddled in the shadowed alcove reserved for the unworthy, her silver hair matted with sweat and the faint scent of blood. The wound across her shoulder had been cauterized by human fire, but the scar still wept thin trails of crimson down her arm. She had expected the pity. She had prayed for it, in the dark holds of the Dominion shuttle. A queen's daughter, captured and broken, deserving of the mercy of the conquered. Instead, the door had exploded inward with the force of a meteor. Captain Elias of the Dominion fleet strode through it as though the palace itself had been built for his boots. He was taller than any human legend had ever claimed, shoulders broad beneath a cloak the color of midnight, scarred hands resting easy on the hilts of 2 pistols at his hips. Behind him came 20 of his soldiers. Faces like weathered stone, eyes that missed nothing. No chains. No leashes. Just the quiet, deliberate click of safety catches being disengaged, as if they had already decided the outcome. Vera's hand closed around his scepter until the metal bit into his palm. "You dare," he snarled, the words a royal whip crack. "This is Vera Prime. You are beneath the dust beneath my boots. Leave or be removed by force." Elias stopped 3 paces from the throne. He did not bow. He did not kneel. He simply looked at the king, then at the princess, and something inside him shifted, like a blade being turned in a wound it had already healed. "Your Majesty," he said, voice low and certain, "I come bearing the only apology that actually means anything. My people burned your outpost because we were told you had ordered it. We were wrong. Dead wrong." He took 1 step forward, and the entire hall seemed to lean into the silence. "But I swear on the lives of every soul I carry. On the graves of my fallen crew, on the blood of my own daughter's unborn child if she ever draws breath, I swear that from this hour, your name will be spoken only in honor. You and yours will be protected as if you were the last star in the void. Because you are." The words hung in the air like smoke from a pyre. Princess Alara lifted her head. Her violet eyes, once bright with the fire of youth, were wide with disbelief. She had expected the cold dismissal, the mocking laughter of a victor's court, the pitying glance that said, "Poor thing, how noble of you to spare her." Not this. Not the quiet thunder of a human who looked at her as though she were the only thing worth seeing in the galaxy. Elias dropped to 1 knee. The scepter in Vera's hand cracked. Not from pressure, from the sheer weight of what he was witnessing. "Like royalty," Elias murmured, so softly that only the king heard. "Now and always." The silence that followed was louder than any roar the Vera had ever unleashed on their enemies. Vera's mind reeled. For centuries they had ruled with fear. Their empire stretched across 50 worlds, their queen's bloodline the only reason the lesser species had not been ground to dust. And now this human, Captain Elias, whose face had been on every wanted poster for the past 5 years, had just declared that Alara's suffering was nothing compared to his guilt. That her broken body was more precious than the lives of every Vera soldier who had ever marched under her banner. He rose slowly, the obsidian throne groaning beneath him. "Explain yourself, insect," he spat, though the word tasted like ash. "You stand in my hall and speak of apologies as if you have not raised half my outposts to glass. You speak of my daughter as though she is your equal. What game is this?" Elias rose with him, graceful as a predator that had chosen mercy. His eyes, storm gray, hard as winter steel, never left the princess. "No game, your majesty. The game ended the day your spies murdered my friend's wife. The day they burned her body because she dared to love a human. I was the one who found her. I was the one who buried her under a sky that still screams her name at night. When my generals told me the Vera had demanded her head, I laughed. Then I cried. Then I ordered every outpost under my command to wait. To watch. To learn. He stepped closer, and for the first time the air between them crackled with something dangerous. I learned that your daughter had been sent to negotiate terms. Not as a queen's emissary. As bait. A pretty Vera princess to lure a lone human into a trap. Instead, she found herself on my ship, bound for a firing squad. And instead of killing her, I couldn't. Because every time she looked at me, I saw my wife's eyes. And every time she smiled through the pain, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Ilara's breath hitched. Tears slid down her cheeks, but she made no sound. This was not pity. This was something fiercer. Recognition. Power. The kind that made kings kneel without knowing why. Elias turned to the court now, his voice rising, carrying through the marble halls like a battle hymn. Today the Vera claim victory. I claim the right to stand as witness to it. Because I have seen what no one else has. I have seen a princess survive hell that should have broken her, and instead of breaking, she became stronger. I have seen your bloodline, your pride, your arrogance, your unyielding will, defy the very galaxy itself. And I have decided that the Vera Empire will never kneel. It will be honored. A low murmur rippled through the assembled nobles. Vera's face had gone the color of old blood. This human dared speak of the Empire's future as though he held the keys. Dared declare that his daughter, his conquered daughter, was the reason for it. Vera leaned forward. You will honor us? With what? Your fragile little fleet? Your pathetic mercy? Elias smiled. It was not kind. It was a predator's smile, the one that said I could end you right now and the galaxy would cheer. With the truth, old king. Truth is the only currency I still possess. And the truth is this. Your daughter has already won. Not because she survived. Because she made a human see her as something worth saving. Because she turned a monster into a knight without lifting a finger. Because she looked at me, looked at all of us, and asked for nothing but the chance to be treated like the queen she is. And I gave it to her. Because I, Captain Elias, have decided that the Vera are no longer prey. They are the storm we must learn to respect. The words landed like artillery shells. Ilara's heart hammered against her ribs. She could feel every eye in the room on her now, not with disgust, not with pity, but with something else. Reverence. Hunger. The same hunger Vera had once commanded from his people when he dragged them into conquest after conquest. Only now it was aimed at her. She rose from the alcove. Her legs shook, but she stood straight, the way her mother had taught her before the Empire fell. Captain Elias, she said, voice steady despite the tears, you speak as if I asked for this. As if I begged for your pity. I did no such thing. I offered you the only truth I have, that my people will never break. That we will stand taller than any of you, human or otherwise. Her voice rang through the hall like a bell. Elias laughed, low, genuine, the sound sending shivers down Vera's spine. There she is, he said. The real Ilara. The one who turned a prison ship into a throne in one night. The one who made me choose between killing her and believing in something bigger than revenge. He looked at Vera then, and the smile never left his face. I am not here to take your throne, King Vera. I am here to stand beside it. To guard it. To make sure no one ever looks at the Vera Queen, your daughter, your bloodline, your empire, and sees only weakness again. Because weakness is a lie. And I have seen the truth. She is the storm. Silence again. This time it was absolute. Vera felt it in his bones. The empire he had built on fear was cracking, not from swords or bullets, but from a single human who refused to kneel. Who had knelt himself, for her. He could feel the court shifting. Whispers turning to murmurs. Some of his own generals, those who had survived the human wars, were nodding. Their eyes were on the princess now, not the king. On what she had become. Elara stepped down from the alcove and walked toward Elias. Each step was measured, regal, unyielding. She stopped directly in front of him, close enough that she could see the faint scar along his jaw, the one her father's forces had left there 2 years ago. "You gave me your name," she said quietly. "Now I give you mine in return. Elara Vera. Queen of the Vera, whether you call me that or not. And I accept your offer. Because I have seen your eyes, Captain Elias. I know what you saw when you looked at me in that shuttle. You saw a queen. Not a victim. Not a prize. A queen." She extended her hand. For a moment, Elias simply stared at it. Then he took it. His grip was firm, warm, steady. He pulled her to her feet, not as a subject, but as an equal. "Done," he said. "Elara Vera. Queen of the Vera. From this day forward, the Dominion fleet will fly under your colors if you ask it. Your people will eat as guests at my table. Your enemies will learn that no one touches the Vera without paying in full." Vera's voice cracked like shattering ice. "You will not." "I will," Elias cut in, still holding Elara's hand. "Because I have decided that the Vera Empire is no longer something to conquer. It is something to defend. And I, Captain Elias, am the only one who can do it properly." He looked back at the throne. At the stunned faces of the court. At the princess who was no longer broken but blazing. "Like royalty," he repeated, louder this time. "Now and always." The words echoed through the hall and out into the corridors beyond, where the people of Vera Prime were already beginning to hear rumors of a human who had spoken their queen's name like a prayer. Elara felt the power surge through her veins for the first time in years. Not the cold crown of a conquered throne. Not the hollow glory of survival. Something warmer. Something alive. The same warmth she had felt when Elias had knelt, not out of pity, but out of awe. She squeezed his hand once, then released it. King Vera remained seated, but his face had changed. The arrogance was still there, but it had been tempered by something new, fear. Real, ancient, royal fear. The human had not come for pity. He had come for respect. And he had found it in a princess who had never asked for either. Outside the throne room, the first signs of dawn were breaking across the shattered skyline. But inside, the real dawn was only beginning. Captain Elias turned to the nearest soldier and spoke without looking away from Elara. "Prepare the royal shuttle. The Vera Empire is expanding its borders tonight. And its new flag will fly beside ours." Elara smiled, a small, fierce, regal smile that made the entire court hold their breath. "Together," she said. "Together," Elias answered. And for the first time in the long, bloody history of the Vera, two species stood on the edge of something neither of them had planned. A queen who refused to be broken. A human who refused to kneel. And a promise that the galaxy would never be the same.